Was it on Monday? No,
What?
on Friday. Sound was good in every platform. So the settings today are exactly the same. So we hope that it's going to be the same for today,
Oh,
right?
oh, okay. We are live
We are
on
live
YouTube now.
on YouTube. Yes.
Hi, good afternoon.
So, and this is just for those who are coming, joining us in the live session, the streaming, is the warm up session 6 for you as the enterprise. And this is going to be the last warm up session before the big day on July 8th. So, the big surprise is I have my partner with me today. And as promised, we're going to share our sort of our path, our professional path that includes freelancing, whether it was like for many years freelancer or in a part-time kind of way. Um, yeah. So before we continue, once again, if someone in on Facebook or Instagram can let us know about the sound, that would be nice. We assume that everything is working properly. Um, Raquel has a sweeter voice, so
Not as
you
beautiful
know,
as yours.
no, 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 not. I like to gel, and she doesn't. So I'm gonna move a little bit over
Is
here
we okay
so that I
on
can
this
see you. Now, if you go,
okay.
yeah,
This way?
as I think so. So everybody
Yeah.
sees us in every platform. Um, Against everybody, I think it's important to keep a notepad with you for whatever we're going to be saying in here. This is a very very important thing because there are many things in the warm up sessions, as there will be on Thursday, that are not written, because the discussion sometimes bring up ideas from experience or memories or certain experiences that come to mind all of a sudden, things that we did to overcome challenges, and it's good to take notes. Okay, so these 6 warm-up sessions have been amazing because we've been covering a lot and sort of giving a lot of what we have to think when we decide to go on our professional life as independent professionals. So far, we saw the statistics, so the picture is pretty nice. And today, as I mentioned, we are going to talk about our experience as freelancing. And again, so I have with me Raquel Sosa. She is the founder and general manager of Verbe Language.
It's a language service provider.
It's a language, right? Okay, so this is not, but I remember now is Verbe Media Localization. That is how you will find Verbe online. And again, somehow we come from different paths of life, professionally speaking, and so we ended. Well, we haven't ended actually. We are now partners because we have been, or I have been lucky enough to find a person and a company that has immediate complementary, I would call it immediate complementary skills or services that allows both of our services to actually, extend the market, extend their client range, and go a little bit stronger in a specific kind of projects. We will share with you a little bit of this on Thursday, but today it's more about what brought us here, which is freelancing. And again, I suggest people not to use freelancing anymore, but to use um, independent professionals. And the reason again is because the way you see yourself, the way you call yourself at whatever you do has much to do with how you behave towards that specific or within that specific field. So if we are talking about our professional life, we want to talk about professionals. And I'm not saying that freelancing or freelancers are not professionals. I'm just saying that the terminology, uh, matters for the mindset with which we approach whatever we do in life. Okay, so just to get it started, I would like to know a little bit of how you started in as a freelancer. What makes you freelance in the first place?
That's a good question. For those who might be out there and doesn't know me, I'm from Brazil. And me and the company, we are based in Portugal now. And it's a longer journey into here.
Uh-huh.
It's been almost 13 years. And in the translation industry, yes, I started as a freelancer, as a freelance translator. And how did I become a translator? Jumping in the dark, I would say. So happy being an employee in different companies. I have bachelor's in Mass literature, so at least in Brazil, um, the common path for people that took university with me would be teaching Portuguese in schools and universities, and most of my colleagues, my friends back in university became teachers, Portuguese language teachers in Brazil. And back then, we would never hear that we had other choices, as working in publishing houses or becoming translators or anything like that. So I followed the crowd and I started teaching,
Uh,
and it killed me. I really didn't like it, which is really ironic nowadays since I'm teaching again. But that's another story.
that is a different story, right? Before you continue, I want to say hello to Alejandro. He's a very good friend of mine in El Salvador. Also, Melba, who I know from so many years, from our high school years. So it's good to see you guys connected. If you can hear us properly, could you please send us a note that you can hear it? And also allow me to suggest you to go to my to the post that I had in on Facebook and go to link and you can join us on the on YouTube on the streaming platform if that fits you. But anyway, so today is more about knowing what we have been doing in terms of freelancing. Is no data on the screen. Is us. Hopefully, it's not going to turn into a boring same two faces all the time. But this is going to be short, but it's going to be good. So you were saying that you enter to teach because people in Brazil that have a university degree in your field, arts and literature, it was like sort of the next logical step to teach or something, and then you did that.
Exactly. And then I found out I had more work to do at home than at work as a teacher. Being in a classroom was really okay. It was fun actually, but preparing the classes, correcting all the activities, preparing the exams,
Yeah.
teachers meetings to plan whatever, that was a killer.
It's
It
true.
was too much.
It's true. I remember my years in college as a professor. I liked the classroom, but I didn't like very much the rest of. I like to prepare my classes because I will sort of learn a little bit more, for myself in the process. But then the meetings, the homeworks, the exams, and things like that were a little bit crucifying for me. So I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. And the sort of accessories we have around every profession, right? Not a, we say I teach, but you don't just teach, right? You do a lot of other stuff around it. This is the core of what we do or what we sell that we do.
Right.
But we do a lot more. And this a lot more, nobody told me before they were
Correct.
there. So I was
Yeah.
really frustrated. But and then I remember that I think the very first thing that happened that brought me to freelancing after all was one day this colleague at the university, she said, "Oh, I work at this company and we are having an international fair here in Rio in this hotel, blah blah blah, and we need people who can speak a little bit of English just to welcome the participants, people of the stands, to help a little bit. You don't have to know much, just enough to get people at the place as opposed to basically." I said, "Okay, I'm in." I extra money, and there I realized that this little English I've been studying, my parents have been paying English courses for me, can do some good.
Mhm.
And so that was when a life goes on.
Mhm.
And then teaching, I didn't like it, and I said, well, so what else can I do? And another
Excuse me.
common thing for especially women that studies art and literature is becoming a secretary because they know languages.
Mhm.
So that was my second shot because I got an internship in an international company and I worked basically with the executive secretaries in Brazil,
Mhm.
and they knew several languages and they earned quite a good salary back then. I said, oh, this is something else. Nobody told me I could do that.
Right.
And little by little, I was like trying different things. At the end, to find out I didn't like being an employee. And so I gave up on everything because I felt I couldn't fit. And by then, I had found out I wanted to be a translator, researching what I could do using languages. Because since I was studying this and blah blah, and that's how I
Correct.
jumped in the dark to be a freelancer
Mhm.
in translation. But I say jump in the dark because I just said, okay, I'm not going to this office as an employee anymore. And the next day I was freelancing, period. So it was not planned at all.
Mhm.
And it was really not very smart.
Not
But
very smart. Okay.
Yeah, because it brought me a lot of problems as being a freelancer, how to pay, what, and then it's what
Right.
we're going to talk about now, right? How
Right.
difficult it was, but that's how I got into it.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You know, I know many people, and Melba and Alejandro, they are entrepreneurs that started their own thing. Perhaps I don't know the reasons why you guys got into building your own business, and if you started alone or started in partnership with someone else. I remember Alejandro has a partner. I was able to visit them in El Salvador when I was there in 2018. Um, and they were very well established, and they built this company out of their skills. And this is one thing that, for example, for Raquel, there was a sort of being happy doing this, knowing languages, getting a gig on translation or something like this, and boom, this is what I'm going to be doing without much really thinking about it, right? So you jumped into that. And I guess many of us started in this way. In my case, I, I would have never been a full-time freelancer until, let's say, 6 years, 6 years ago, more or less. But before, I was freelancing based on different skills. And when I was 14 years old, I was sort of a freelancer in construction industry. What I had was the physical me, and we had to do things. And later on, when I went into the art school, I was freelancing um, teaching painting to women members of the American Women Association in El Salvador, and that got me a little bit more into English. At the time, I spoke a very broken English, much more broken than it is now. Um, and but they helped me a lot into that. So I realized, okay, that's another skill that I could learn, and I went into learning English just because yes, and then English brought me to Asia and so on and so forth. So for me, it was more about there was an opportunity to do something, and I happened to have the skill to do it. So, and then I took the opportunity and I started doing things. So I've been very entrepreneurial in that sense. So I have four maybe big crushes in the process of becoming a businessman, but all has to do with freelancing actually. In my case, it was freelancing on something brought me to the idea of building a company doing that specific thing or in that specific field without having any training in business, which is again what we are gonna be what we're gonna be doing. But just to get you to get you more excited about um, the freelancing world, and we saw it in Walmart session number two that the picture is really good, and more people are getting into this, but it means more competition. But we all have, I guess, good memories of our freelancing times. Do you recall any?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is freedom, right?
Right.
I had really hard feeling that I couldn't fit.
Mhm.
I couldn't fit in a regular job,
Right.
And so I felt really free. But this freedom is tricky. Also, it's something we can talk about. It's not tricky, but you have to know how to manage it in order to be really able to say that you got your freedom from freelancing. Otherwise, you're just a slave in other terms.
Right.
Right.
So it comes also to management, no?
Management
Knowing how
skills,
to.
management productivity, right?
Mhm.
You think you work more hours as a freelancer than as an employee after?
I do, but I engage more because I normally freelance on things that I like to do. So
Yes.
spending more time into that every second is for my own growth. And again, so there are things that I like, and of course, there's one thing that that I used to mention to my students back in school is when they come and say, "Oh, I don't like to do this anyway, so why would I have to go this routine kind of thing if I can already see it done?" And I used to mention that for the extraordinary to happen, the ordinary has to happen first. And this is perhaps the one of the difficult parts of being a freelancer, right? The whole job is yours. Excel sheets, presentations, searching for information, cleaning it up, invoicing. Oh my God, sometimes it really
overwhelming.
it is. But again, so
And
if you have a focus or you have a goal for which you are in freelancing, that it makes a difference, no?
mhm. Yeah, but it's like I said when I was teaching, right? Teaching is the core business. It's not the whole thing, but sometimes
Right.
we forget that there's no job that is just the core business of what you say you do. There's
correct,
always
yeah.
a lot of things
Yes.
around it.
Yeah.
We're very good in forgetting about it, but once we realize that's there and that we have to do, we pay the price
Right.
to do our core business.
Right.
What we say is the core business in this sense better, and then I guess we feel more comfortable
Right.
instead of just fighting against it. I don't want to voice it. I don't want to know.
It's true.
I don't want
It's
to do
true.
this or that. But in
It's
fact,
true.
when I do, and at the end, it's all the same.
Right.
That's why we relate so much, even though we are in different industries now, because
But it's now that Raquel mentioned this being in different industries. The truth is that we are not. We are in the same industry. So with my company, what I do is to devise globalization and internationalization systems for organizations. so for companies. And there is no way that you go international without the language side.
Mhm.
So we are basically in the same industry, it's just that we carry on different tasks with that. And that's what I was saying, that it's very lucky for me to really find a
Mhm.
partner like you, because your experience, not only as a freelancer, but your experience also in being an employee, so that it helps you to understand the organizational reality. Then you go into freelancing, and somehow it helps us to understand what is difficult to. We are going to be talking about what were the greatest challenges, and now founding companies that work with independent professionals. So it's pretty much,
Mhm.
it's not really that
Yeah,
different if
we're
we
like
think
in the
about it.
intersection from where we came, our industries, and we meet here, right?
Right.
Yeah. I would like to know if the audience wants to share with us what they work with, if they freelance now, if they did, they don't do anymore. If you're interested in
Sylvia,
that.
thank you for watching from Canada, and Mason, thanks for watching from Shanghai. Much appreciated you taking the time. If you can hear us on Instagram, please send a note. I can hear you, right? Because we are still guessing here. Unfortunately, I don't have another device to check because it creates an echo that is very annoying. So we closed everything
On
else.
YouTube as well, you can
On
interact
YouTube
on
as
the
well,
chat.
yeah.
Mhm.
And
Nice.
so back in El Salvador right now through Facebook, if you guys can hear us, send us a note. Freelance rocks. So, well, I tell you what, Mason, a very good friend of mine, we met in Shanghai through training jiu-jitsu. He is also an entrepreneur. And now that I mentioned this, one important thing that encourages people to not to give up, or encourages people to go on, is your environment. And in my environment, most people I know are entrepreneurs. And because we are entrepreneurs, or we freelance, then we have the time to pursue different kind of interests, like training jiu-jitsu, for example. Could be something difficult to do when you have a fixed job at a company that may limit your mobility in that sense, right? So it's true. I mean, freelance.
Or at least you would be the guys going training at 3 p.m., right?
Exactly.
Not 7 in the morning
Yeah.
before going
Yeah.
to work or after.
Right. So I tell you one thing for me is I wake up and my mind is set to work immediately. But in the middle of the day, I want to have a break and do sports. I mean, all the years I worked for different companies for about 30 years. And all the time, it was very difficult for me to really fulfill the dream of, having that break of intense exercise, skill learning things. But when I went as an independent professional and set up my own ways to work, that delivered a lot.
Ah, that's interesting. I'm so the opposite. I have no brain in the morning. It's impossible.
She has brains. She just
Yeah, because I get up and I leave the brain sleeping a
right.
little bit longer.
So, and this is important about partners as well, because when you partner up with a different person, or I mean, with another person or organization, you have uh, different work systems, yeah.
Yes.
And so that perhaps is what makes partnership a little bit challenging. But once you know what the other person or the other company can provide, so that you can deliver a better job, better work, better results, is knowing at what time, for example, in this
That
case,
you-
times, you can actually work with that
You will
person.
never receive an email from me before 10 a.m.
Okay, so
That's true. My clients know that by now.
so so as a freelancer, right? How did you educate your customers to? So what is it? For example, if I'm your customer, right? And I say, hey, listen, I need to talk to you at 7 a.m. and then you can't. what would you do?
It's not that we can't, right? But on a regular basis, on a daily thing, I cannot be productive
Right.
every day working and being ready to work on this hour. So it was really a journey to understand how I work better so I can be more productive instead of being fighting to be productive in a period of the day when I'm not able to.
Right. Right.
And then you start informing your clients. I remember there was a moment that I had the working hours on my signature on my email. I'm working from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. That was it. So your
Very
clients
interesting.
get used to that. It's like the time zone, right?
Right. So, now that you mentions this, Raquel mentions this, it comes to my developing globalization system. Well, when you develop a globalization system for a company, we're talking about organizational development, organizational growth. And organizational development and organizational growth has to do with productivity. And what happens in most business organizations is that management very seldom goes into understanding at what time of the day are their employees, their team members, more productive. One of the things that I insist on when it comes to organizational development is to do a study and to be aware of where is the peak of productivity for different persons, because it's not that every electronic engineer has the same peak of productivity. It's different, right? But that doesn't happen in business organizations that very often, or at least the business organizations I have worked for or I have worked with, they don't do that because most people think that there is an automatic thing and you can actually program. You can, but it takes a little bit of time, and then it can affect that time of achievement. It can affect productivity even more.
Mhm. Yeah, but it's the first thing, I guess, no? And now I'm speaking Portuguese. See how tricky it is. But no, that's the first thing we learn as freelancers. Because imagine if I struggle for a while, say, okay, so I have to be organized and set my own working hours and blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, I'll be working 24 by 24, right? And so as I wake up earlier, to go to my computer home office and start the day. And then I was struggling in the morning. So when my uh, productive period of the time came in the afternoon, which is the afternoon for me, I was so tired for struggling in the morning that I couldn't be as productive as I would have been if I knew how to balance this. So I think one of the key skills we have to develop as a freelancer is learning what is our productive period of the day pretty well, and focus on having the most important or mentally exhausting tasks for the day for this time. So, for example, I try always to put all my meetings in the afternoon.
Right.
Of course, we have time zones problems and things like this, but every time I'm the one responsible for that, I'll always suggest this time for
Right. It's we have a big day on Thursday, right? Because of the workshop where we are going to get the specific tools to succeed as independent professionals. So that's why we call it you as the business organization. You can still freelance, but you behave as a business organization, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I find it very interesting, really, and very revealing, the fact that how many of you as freelancers understand very well your peak of productivity time. When during the day are you more productive, or when during the week are you more productive, right? And maybe you need to to be freelancer for a certain time to discover when that is. And perhaps if someone tells us that at the beginning, we will save some mistakes, I believe.
For
No?
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You remember any crashing experience where you messed it up for your client or
I
for?
messed it up so many times.
Okay, so
It's part
not
of
too
the
much
learn-
anymore, right? That's why.
No, but it's a learning curve, right?
Right.
And I had no training on how to manage a business. And it took me a while to realize I was managing my own business, running my own business.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I guess that's the first mistake I made was not knowing that freelancing would actually mean running my own business.
Right. So when
And
you say my own, perhaps it's good that we concentrate on the word business.
Mhm.
It's not really managing myself. Yes, you
Yeah,
are, but you
exactly.
are managing yourself in order to manage a business.
Mhm. So I lost clients because of this. Yeah, sometimes I would behave as an employee or putting myself in the wrong position and negotiating with clients, for example.
Right.
That's a minus, a big minus.
Right. So negotiations, right, is another thing that comes handy when you are a freelancer because not only you are negotiating, but you are negotiating based on self-promoting.
Mhm.
So, and self-promotion is something that has to be carefully done because otherwise it sounds bad. Unfortunately, our societies do not encourage self-promotion. Even so, right now it's more common to take a selfie.
Yeah, but um, don't you think it's more like, at least in Brazil, right? My biggest experience is within the Brazilian market. Okay, so I'm gonna start as a freelancer. I was there. Here, I'm more as a company already when I moved to Europe. Um, and it's like in Brazil, I really think, for example, as a culturally speaking, we are sort of afraid or not allowed to promote ourselves
Right.
because it's not well received. As in, now you're grabbing too much,
Right.
or that selling is something bad.
Right.
Because you just don't talk about money or this and that. You should be cool, nice partner.
Right.
Oh, what make it happen? Blah, blah, but not straightforward, and it makes doing business harder. It's like what is it called? Limiting beliefs or something like that.
Mhm. You mean by culturally speaking, you
Yeah,
can do one thing
yeah.
or the other? Yeah, and it's important, and this is another thing that is core to freelancing, especially because depending on what you do, you can get customers from all over the world, right? So, and this is what part of what brought us to create you as a business organization, that you can create revenue, stable, very good revenue from customers all over the world. But Raquel just mentioned something that is crucial, is culture. Right? Because in the end, if you as a company, I mean, if you as a member of a company want to break into a new market, you speak about the company. Right? When I work in the bicycle industry, my main target was market development, and so I had a whole institution backing me up, and then I was talking about the institution rather than about Miguel. But when I came as an independent professional, I had to speak about me without speaking about me. Well, it's not a very difficult skill, but we were gonna see it anyways on Thursday. But this is important, and the point is that when you understand culturally what is acceptable or not in this new market, then you are better equipped to attract customers from different countries.
So yeah, it's culture, and that's what you mentioned. Like you sell yourself, but you don't sell yourself. It's realizing the basics of selling that took me so long because I didn't take any course. No one said to say, "Hey, let me tell you this thing that will change the game for you," right?
Right.
That is understanding these basic rules of selling it. I don't sell the means. I sell the destination. The I'm thinking in Portuguese.
I
But
didn't go
it-
to same school.
no, but it's like I don't sell translations, right? Translations translation is the way, the means I have to solve my client's problem, but his problem is something else.
Right.
So I don't sell translations. I have to sell something that fits his needs, maybe through translation. But if I sell translation, he won't understand that that's what he's in need of, right? And it took me so long to realize that. And if someone had told me this before, please, if you have the same problem, not knowing the basics of basics,
Yeah.
raise your hands because it's a game changing.
It is indeed. I was questioned. I've been very curious my whole life, and I've been I've been questioned about learning this and learning that, right? And it's really not about learning something, but about learning something that you can use directly into what you do. And when you are a freelancer, what we call soft power, it's too much for cliche maybe for many people, and yet is very important. Those soft elements that allow you to make better use of your skills or the tools that you have are so important. Like knowing, for example, how to sell.
Mhm. Imagine how many hours I spent telling my clients what tools I was using, the quality of this and that in translation methods, series. He's not interested in that. I lost this client.
Right.
So it's real life, like you said,
Right.
what did you do that was wrong? Was not learning how to sell because
Yeah.
it's so important.
I guess also when we know, and I'm guilty of charge on this, is that when we know something very well, or we believe that we know something very well, we sort of don't want to know more because we believe that the skill that we have is enough. But the truth is that it's much better to get ready in terms of knowledge, like as I'm saying, this is soft power, like acquiring the soft powers of management skills of okay, here's a question: how many of you that are independent professionals have a written business model?
Huh.
And it's just so basic. Imagine that I don't know if you have on your bedroom something that says, "I hope I know you early so I can love you longer," or something like this to remind you of something, right? So your business that has a lot inside that you need to remember all the time also deserves something like this,
Mhm.
And that business model is key, perhaps more than the business plan, because the plan will deliver for having a business model. So, and these are the things that we want to, after collecting comments and experiences from different freelancers in different industries, we find out that one of the core problems in freelancing is the self training or training in soft skills, right? Or things that, man, this is so basic, and how can I didn't think about it? Simply because we are so involved in the job and so much into our own skills that we don't see the wider picture,
Mhm.
right?
Why didn't you give up being a freelancer when you commit your first mistakes or give
Yeah.
up on the big moments and oh man, this is too hard.
I guess it's freelancers or people who go into freelancer. I believe are born or develop somehow entrepreneurial spirit, and so an entrepreneur it's a characteristic. We don't give up that very easily. So I guess it's part of being that, but also the fact that I remember the first gig that I took, right? The first no contract, no company kind of job that I took gave me an amount of money that I wouldn't have by any means within the year if I was just working for a company. And that amount of money allowed me to do something I always wanted to do. So it's this pleasure of having, that economic freedom at the time, that economic freedom, plus I had the time to do something like that. And because I have tasted the pleasures of provided by being a freelancer is one of the motivational things. But if you ask me what is the most important value or a word that will represent success is freedom. And most important is economic freedom, financial freedom, right? Having no debts, being able to decide when to eat what, or being able not to do it, not because I don't have the means or the time, just because I don't want it. Right? And freelancing can give you that thing simply because it puts you in a state of time where you can actually manage that thing. Of course, it's not that easy, right? It's because we have competition, we have market changes, we have pandemics, we have new knowledge. So there is so much management to do behind being a successful freelancer because you through freelancing on your skills, you can actually grow your bank account. But if you do not know how to manage your finances, you can actually make it drop all of a sudden. And that is very sad. So, this is the things that we need to have models, we need to have tools, we need to have systems to follow that allows us to ensure that we will keep that wealth with us. But yeah, I didn't quit because of that.
So we what you're saying somehow is that we stick to something when it's closely related to our past. So it seems that you have freedom as a big value, and freelancing gives you that, as it does for me. It was so hurtful to work for others because of I have to be there 8 a.m. blah 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 blah.
The commuting time, which is crazy. You were commuting hours, like
hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and really it's crazy. And that even though I was in really bad moments in freelancing sometimes because I didn't know how to run the business, so I would have a really great month and that month I have no income sometimes, right?
Right.
I would say, if I can do this right once, and this one time gives me more financially, really.
Right.
And also emotionally, like more pleasure. Then going back to that life, I'm sticking to it. I don't matter fighting. When I'm down on the curve for 2 or 3 months, because once I got up there again.
I think there is one important thing, right? So depending on your culture, but some people don't like to talk about money, don't to do things for money. But the truth is this: that it's all about money. Freedom is about money. Health is about money. Learning new things is about money. Living a comfortable life is about money. Now, money is the means to do good or the means to do bad, right? So depending on how you use it. But for freelancers, it's a very, very important thing because you don't have a company giving you insurance, paying your travels. You don't have paid vacations, but you can have a vacation every day. So, no, a little vacation every day, if you will, but you still have to work a lot.
Depending on how you manage your time.
That's correct. Yeah, exactly. So that we come back to the fact that we need to get the systems and the tools to manage, and and to understand really what it means to be a freelancer or an independent professional, because it could be very rewarding, but at the same time, you can crash hard if you don't know how to manage that wild thing that you have by being a freelancer. Because imagine when you're in a company, even if you have a skill, let's say translation, okay, I'll put that thing, or painting, designing a product, right? Um, you will depend somehow from IT department, you will depend somehow from whether or not your manager or your boss understands what they're doing, how much try does it have in your skills. There are many factors. In the end, in a business organization, you are in charge of one task. I mean, not really. So many tasks you do in a business organization, but what I'm saying is when you are an independent professional, all that has to be done is in your hands.
Mhm.
I tell the truth, I feel pleasure in doing it, but it limits me in terms of how much I can do per hour. Okay. Now, when I was freelancing, again, so I do it in things that I like very much, and I don't mind it. But sometimes there is paperwork that you can actually get rid of your daily work, no, daily routine.
Paperwork. I guess it's the issue for every freelancer, because
Sure.
those who design wants to design, those who translate wants to translate, right?
Right.
Those who go consult wants to consult, but we don't want to deal with this bureaucracy.
You know, I would
And
say
the
that
earlier we face that, the better.
I always say that we can match anything we do with being a boxer and fighting, for the crown, or being a jiu-jitsu fighter and going to a competition to get the gold. We all want to go to the competition and get the gold, but very few wants to go to the everyday being smashed by your partners at the training center, right? Not only that, not only the technique, but you have to go and understand the soft part of the sports you practice as well. And that goes with your skills,
Mhm.
whatever they are. You could be a very I was going to say a typewriter, but there's no typewriter's machine anymore. But I remember my first book that I wrote. Actually, I
some
was
vintage stuff now.
yeah, it's just beautiful. I gotta tell you. So I hope my brother still keep that.
Oh, I have mine.
You have yours. It's
It's
amazing.
at my
It's
parents,
amazing.
yeah.
I mean, when you go to a museum and you see, and you know what? Going to a museum at any time or at times when there is not too crowded is the best thing that can happen to you. And I've been able to do that because of freelancing. Because then I can choose what time during the day, close to lunch, I can go and I really see the collections. I can spend time, especially now with the COVID, social distancing is required, and you have more time to do it. I really like
I
it.
used to go to the movies at 2 p.m. sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Noon in Rio because it was cheaper.
But you see, I mean, it even allows you to save money,
And I
and
would
then
work until 10 p.m.
right, but it's your
After
it's
that.
the peak of it, right? As for me, I can go by noon because if I wake up at 7:05, I am 100% productive, right? Because this is the peak of my productivity. By 4 and 5, especially in summer, I'm thinking about getting my bicycle and riding to the beach and wait there for the sunset or something, or
Yeah.
just do whatever
That's
else.
the beauty of managing your own time.
That's
right?
correct.
Your own
Yeah.
schedule. But at the end, I think what we want to say is that um, we are all running business, and sometimes that takes freelancers a little bit more time to realize that. But the sooner we get to understand
Right.
that and what running a business is, and how you can use the same tools as
Right.
organizations use to run your freelancing,
Right.
the better, right? You get better results, you struggle a bit less
Right.
in terms of making the equation.
Yeah. So Raquel just mentioned something very important, right? In the end, it's about knowing what running a business is. It's not about your skills. It's not about your age. It's not about. It's about your skills, about your age, it's about the market, it's about all of that. But in the end, it's about knowing how you run a business, having all those other influential elements of part of the equation of making the life you want to have. Right?
And not fighting against it, because people from my industry, okay, we want to translate, and then we keep fighting against the bureaucracy, the paperwork, right? But the sooner we understand that this is, we should partner with the paperwork, not fight against it, because the sooner we do this, the more peace we have.
Yeah. And I remember saying, no, not saying, but hearing one of my bosses when I was in the newspaper back in El Salvador, in Spanish would say, lo que has de hacer, hazlo pronto, supposedly to be saved by Jesus Christ, which is in the Bible, whatever you must do, do it quickly or something like this. I don't really know what the statement became in other languages. But if we know that we have to do certain kind of boring things, but we must do it, we go to it immediately and then, finish as soon as possible and do it well. And then we have more time for the pleasures of the job. Right? Because another thing that I don't know if you remember or were able to see, say warm-up session number 2, one of the reasons why people go into freelancing is to work in something they are passionate about.
Passion.
Yeah, and I got to tell you this. I mean, if you listen to many of former and current inspirational speakers, you come to the conclusion that one of the things that most of them agree is that money is a consequence of how much passion you put in what you do. Because when you're passionate about something, you want to do it well. And when you do something well, then you can sell it well and more and to more people. And so you get this stable income. Remember that we all have fixed costs, right? Life, work. We need to cover that up. So what we're talking here is not earning money to pay your bills. It's not. It doesn't count. It's earning money so that after you pay your bills, you have plenty of it to make decisions or to cover up for emergencies like COVID-19. Imagine that those who didn't manage their finances properly, they might have suffered more than others who did. And perhaps COVID-19 is also learning, and being a bad thing for humanity has been also good for freelancers somehow, no? Because when we were apart, companies already had like at least 1 year of trial period of having people working remotely, and it works, and people happen to be even more productive than being at the company. Right? So, but when you are at home, there is the self-management skills you need to have so that you don't mess it up, right? And even if you don't have a boss, when you don't have a boss, seems to be easier, but in reality it's more complicated because if you mess it up, you mess up. You mess up yourself, right? When you mess it up with your company, well, you talk to your boss and maybe you got a fine, or I don't know how you will solve it with your company, but someone else is responsible for that, or holds, the responsibility, right, more than yourself.
Yeah, true. And I'm listening to you, and don't come to mind again, because at the end, you have to understand that this knowledge of how to run a business, how to do everything that has to be done, the paperwork is equalizing everything, making it work towards your dream life, your freedom.
Right.
So we should really look with passionate eyes for
Right.
this part of work and not as if it's the harder part of it.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
that's what makes it possible, right?
Right. Exactly.
And it's funny because you said passion and I said, oh yeah, passion, that word, because translators, they have this like, oh, I have a passion for languages, right? That's why I became a translator. I'm so sorry and pardon my French, bullshit. At the end,
That was
all-
French. That was French.
we all work for money,
It's correct.
right?
It's correct.
So
Yeah. So
there's no such a thing
I-
as living from passion only.
right. Yeah. So I believe this, right? So I do photography for passion, and unless it is a portrait, I don't charge or I don't make money out of photography. But I am able to do something for the sake of passion because I passionately do something that allows me to get money,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm still passionate about what I do. I work in the fields that I like to work, and understanding that this has been very clear to me that there is a backup knowledge that allows me to do that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
again, so today was really about sharing a little bit, what we have gone through and what I have seen through being employees, freelancers, building our own companies as well that work a lot with independent professionals. And yeah, so on Thursday, you were going to say something. Sorry.
I was gonna ask if you think you succeed as a freelancer.
It's a good question. Well, to tell the truth, and I will enter immediately right now to Thursday. So I never saw myself as a freelancer, um, simply because I come to understand again that um, what you call yourself determines how you behave. But I always, when I was younger, I always wanted to be an independent professional. And when I started, taking some gigs or freelancing as a young professional, I never really thought of myself as a freelancer. But if you will allow me to twist the question a little bit and say, have you succeeded as an independent professional? I would say so far so good, yes, because it has allowed me to achieve many things that I wanted to do. Money wise, 10 or 20 millions more will be nice to see my bank account. I'm on the way. I'm on the way, but there is what I believe. You see, I don't limit myself into small numbers, really. Right? And perhaps part of, I would say that I have walked uh, pretty much up in the success curve. For me, again, the meaning of success is having no debts, and I have achieved that some years ago. And then so I see it as a yes to your question. But again, so it's a fluctuating things, right? We have up and downs. The COVID-19 also put a lot of stress on me and my finances, and now it's sort of a new beginning. But hey, I mean, I have to put more passion into this.
Because we put online on our invitation for the audience how we could make a living as freelancers and how we could get our clients and retain them.
Right.
So for us, a good learning curve. I think this learning never ends.
Yeah.
We have different and new tools every day to run business,
Right.
marketing, and all things
Right.
related to this. But yes, I think we can say we are doing good so far, right?
So far, yeah.
Yeah.
So again, so as Raquel just said, it's a learning curve. It's always about having a tools, having systems, having knowledge that will help us to do the rest and to achieve or create the life that we have. And so the promise for Thursday web workshop, remember we're going to be working, is that you will get ready to use a the basis for your own business, regardless of the industry you work for. You can be a lawyer, you can be a psychologist, you can be a designer, you can be anything. Your skills could be absolutely anything. And you might be interested in selling to Czech Republic, and you can do it because even though every person, every industry, every kind of a skill has specifics, there is something general in doing business, and that is run by people for people. And we will take that core to set up like the basics for you to go and hit any market. Now, remember, whether or not you succeed to enter a market will depend on how much time and how much concentration you put into building that basis. Okay, so if a building has a weak base, it will collapse at some point. So we need to build a base. Thursday is about the base.
And
Right.
if I can say something to your audience, and maybe mine, for my students or my clients are also entrepreneurs and freelancers watching us, is take the course. If I had been offered something like this and took it many years ago, I would be even in a better place right now because this knowledge is key.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, this course really started with an idea of helping one or two freelancers, but we'll find out that many have actually having the same question. So it's sort of a contribution also to others and independent professionals who, would like to get what we got that brought us here right now, and in a nutshell. And then, maybe it will not maybe. I believe that if you enter, you will be able to see a clearer path into achieving a professional goal or an economic goal or the life that you want to have through being an independent professional. So I hope this is the last warm up. It's going to be only 6. Tomorrow I have to freelance on something, on a different skill. And then on Thursday, the workshop starts at 3 p.m. Lisbon time. That is GMT +1. And then and we are going to be sharp on 3, and it's a lot to cover and it's a lot to do. Remember, these 2 things are very important for those who join. Yes, she may.
Those who want to know more or register for the workshop.
So if you want to register for the workshop, the links on Facebook are on my post. On Instagram, the link is on my bio. And here on the streaming, the link is right now on screen and also on the description of the video. So check out for Instagram and Facebook posts, and the links are there. So you just go there and then save your seat, and I'll see you on Thursday. Again, I believe it's a well done, well prepared workshop. Now what it requires is you to use those tools, and perhaps at some point to share with us how those tools have helped you. I'm certain they're going to help you to move forward in your career path.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for taking the time. Thank you, Raquel.
You're welcome.
And so I guess I'll see you on Thursday. Raquel, anything else?
No, thank you very much for those who were watching us
All right.
and being present in this conversation. I really enjoy it. Thank you for the partnership and the invitation to be here with you today.
Okay, you will hear from us more because we are getting more feedbacks from clients, from friends, from other independent professionals, and we are creating sort of conversations with the world, basically, in terms of business, globalizing, problems of moving forward from where we are.
And
Okay.
if anyone has any doubts or questions about the
Any doubts
workshop,
or questions, you can just send me questions through Facebook or Instagram, or you can also go to alternativesa.com to contact, and then ask any questions or share any comments that you have. So,
And I'm gonna do as a YouTuber
mhm.
now for you, and ask people to do a like on this video. And
Yes.
subscribe to the channel.
You know what?
Because
Well,
social
it's,
networks.
it's a learning curve. I normally used to be face to face with my potential clients from the start, and that's because of the way I've been moving. But yeah, so give it a like, share it if you could, tell your friends or other people that you think may benefit from acquiring this knowledge, and so and again, so have a good rest of the week. Be careful. We are still on COVID times. We're vaccinated. We've been tested negative for COVID, so we felt comfortable on coming to the same space today and to meet you guys. So stay safe. It's important. All right.
See you on
Take
Thursday.
care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
I